My new launch of first half 2025, or very possibly the launch of 2025, is here. Yes, you heard it right. Very close to CNY. Now, for most of you guys who have been following my channel, you must be wondering, hey, why do you keep talking about those new launch of 2024, new launch of 2025, and recently still skip past 2025 and talk about launch 2026? I'm sorry, it's just that we had to wait almost till the end of the year for my launch of 2024 to pop out. And because the likely launch of the year for me is coming so early, I feel a little bit like a broken record. So I apologize for that. Okay, but let me put it out there. On a side note, my launch of 2026 is, as per my previous video, it is going to be the on-block site of Thomson View. What name is it going to be called? I'm not too sure yet. And because I've identified it so early, I will also likely be doing a few mini-series in manifesting Thomson View leading up to the launch next year. And before I start, if you like the content so far, it would mean a great deal if you can smash the like button and subscribe, as I aim to bring you value that I have been providing my clients offline for the longest time. I have also recently set up a new community where I'll be giving you my uncut and unbiased opinion on properties that. So please find the QR code on your screen to scan across. Otherwise, you can also find my link in description. Here are also my contact details or my social media handles that you can reach out to me if you need any help in regards to property related matters. Now, back to the video. So, my launch of 2025. Again, you must be thinking, oh, you so early there to say it's better than the rest in the upcoming year itself. My answer is yes, provided the developers don't be too greedy, because this hits the right spot in my QPE framework. And what is it that is so compelling? It is Bagnall House. Further down, and in the heart of the new Tampines Township at Tampines North, yes, you have guessed it right, it is none other than Parktown Residences. Some basic information about it: jointly developed by UOL, CapitaLand and Singland. It is a fully integrated development that spans approximately 545,000 square feet of land space. Mind you, that is huge. And to give you some context of how big it is, have you been to the new Woodlake Mall or the next mall? Twice of that. It's just slightly smaller than Park Clementes and about 50% higher than Park Esta for those people staying in the east. You really hardly get a land size that is that big nowadays, let alone it being on top of an MRT and shopping mall. There'll be a total of 1195 units comprising of 1 bedrooms all the way to 5 bedrooms. And land was bought at such a cheap rate of 885 per square foot per plot ratio for an integrated development. It eclipses that of Singland buying EOK at an incredible discount against all others. So how does that add up against all other competitions in the Tampines area? We will get to that in the final part of the video, and I will also share with you my strike price range. So stay tuned till the end. Now, without further ado, let's whip out the QPE framework to see why this is such a compelling option for investors or people looking for own use, or a little bit of both. For starts, and at this point of recording, I only have a few artist impression of the development. I do not have any price guide whatsoever, but I should be able to aga or give an estimation based on the land cost. So first circle, quality. Point number 1, land size, facilities and facade. So this is how it looks like with the limited resources that we have at the point of recording. Anyway, even if I don't have any materials at all, I can't care less. Why? Because it's such a massive plot of land falling into the hands of a reputable developer or developers. So how to go wrong with a 540,000 square feet land size development? You expect it to look like any other integrated developments. You can take reference from like Woodlake Residences, Sengkang Grand of North Park Residences. The design shouldn't fall too far away from that. Hence, I'm going to jump the gun to say you shouldn't expect anything other than good here. Point number 2, likewise, I do not have any sample layouts at the moment, and again, you don't expect UOL or CapitaLand to build you weird layouts like some smaller developers do. And if you take a look at all of their recent developments, I can more or less predict what kind of designs they might do already lah. So for this point, good, wouldn't be worried one bit at all. Point number 3, location, MRT and amenities. You are right on top of an MRT, which is ready about the time this development TOPs, bus interchange, shopping mall, everything. For those who have been watching my channel for the longest time, you know I don't put too much emphasis on location, but this one is just icing on the cake with that many things going on around here. So for location and everything, it's 10 out of 10, right? Point number 4, views. Over here, you should get a very unblocked panoramic view of the HDBs.
Huh?
So you won't be selling based on views lah. Hence, I don't and will not see a need to pay for a good facing unit because there's likely none unless pool facing itself is good enough for you. All in all, first circle of quality, a 540,000 square feet piece of land will always pass the vibe check. And there's really not much that can go wrong for its layout since it's a UOL and capital M project, and I find the quality to be very likely its strength. Second circle, exit strategy, target audiences. This is located in the OCR neighborhood, so naturally you will cater to primarily HDB upgraders. Now, if you look at this map, which is approximately 1 km radius of Parktown, you see a lot of purple buildings, right? What are those? HDBs. And because the Tampines North is like a new township like Lentor, slightly smaller version of Lentor, there's also plenty of BTO happening in and around the area. The southern side of where we are is where the mature part of Tampines is, and I will touch more on the competitions coming from everything on the southern side in just a bit. In essence, this is like an extension of the older Tampines cluster where there's really not much land to make way for newer flats or even condo. And you also know that I love to buy a property to sell to HDB upgraders, right? Because I think this is what is supporting the entire property market. For those of you who missed out my previous video talking about why it is hard for property prices to come down, I talk about it extensively in it and my link is in description. So make sure to head over to check it out if you have missed that out. For schools, Tampines is also another area that isn't popular for schools, so no good schools is not a problem here. For transformation, it's a new township of the Tampines North. People talk about the potential transformation of Paya Lebar airbase. I usually see that as a marketing gimmick on the shorter term because I want my demand to come organically from people wanting to be in Tampines for different reasons it can be. So all in all, you don't usually have a problem with properties in the Tampines area for exit strategy. There's always an exit here. The problem for the longest time is that there isn't much entry to begin with. Which brings me to always the most important circle once we are able to clear the exit and quality portion, and that is price. And what price the developers paid again? 885 per square foot per plot ratio. Then you put an estimated break-even of around 1661 per square foot for everything. Then you add an additional 8% as it's a harmonized plot. You should get a break-even price of about maybe 1793 per square foot. Then if I add in a 10% to 20% profit margin, we could be looking at between 1980 per square foot to 2151 per square foot. Now, whether developer sells at that kind of price or not, who knows? But for a start, this should be the cheapest launch this year that is a non-EC. Now, just to give you a bit of context, CDL got their land at Woodlands at around 900 per square foot per plot ratio, Norwood Grand, and launched averagely at 2067 per square foot. Average means that there were some at 1009 and there were some also at 2200 per square foot, the most premium one. Even if I assume the developers at Parktown are a little bit more greedy or maybe their cost to build everything is a bit higher, a range of 2000 per square foot starting from to 2300 per square foot shouldn't be too far off as a gauge. Now, for argument's sake, let's put a price of 2100 per square foot to pit ourselves against all our other competitions, shall we? On the new launch front, the recent mixed development at Tampines West MRT was sold to Hoi Hub at 1000 per square foot per plot ratio, and the plot size, it's although quite big, it's only half the size of Parktown residences. Break-even plus the harmonized effect should see the break-even hitting 2000 per square foot, which means the price could potentially launch between 23 to 2400 per square foot probably by the end of this year. As for properties around Parktown, they are all mainly EC. The Tenet launched theirs about 1400 per square foot averagely about 2 years ago, and for the record, I say here and here first, I believe Tenet is going to be the one that makes the most money. Very likely making more money than even Parktown. But there's a caveat. Your exit can only be around 2031 after 5 years MOP. If you're an investor, then time is of an essence too. Okay, like ECs for own use, not essentially for investment so but half a mind. Over the next 6 years, all goes well, you can probably also be making 2 cycles while the net owners make one big one. Could both profits eventually end up the same? Only time will tell. And then just beside the net, we will be getting the brand new EC that is launching very soon in Orel, is it Orel or Ori or Orel or whatever it is, if I'm not wrong. Qingjian holds the record of it being the most expensive EC till date and should launch their units at between 1,600 to 1,700 per square foot. Now, that's only a 20 to 30% gap, which also means that Parktown isn't that pricey at all. And on the new launch segment, that should be it. Okay, so on to the resale. Tampines, Trillion and City Life are already hitting 1,600 per square foot, touching 1,700 plus per square foot for a 10 years old XEC. And because Parktown is a harmonized project, using 2,100 per square foot actually wouldn't be a fair comparison. But if I use the old traditional method and taking away the 8% profit margin that developers should have it now, then actually in actual terms, that should be about 1,950 per square foot as a fair comparison. Then when you have the gap of only 20% between an old and a new one, plus the new one is right on top of the MRT and more, Parktown looks like a steal. Okay, over to the southern side of Tampines, we got the latest and highly popular Tampines Treasure that TOP about 2 years back and averagely sells or rather hitting 1,800 to even 1,009 per square foot. Same thing, 2,100 per square foot harmonized versus 1,009 per square foot pre-harmonization. With Parktown being on top of the MRT, it is also very clear for all to see that if you really want to be living in Tampines and is currently considering Tampines Treasure, you might want to do a little bit of delayed gratification by probably just investing in Parktown and renting in Treasures instead. Maybe that's a good option. On the western side of Tampines is also the cluster of houses with the notable Tapestry being the closest competition. That trends more than 1,700 per square foot already, and you realize we can't really separate the Parktown and Tapestry that much. The price gap is quite narrow. So if I were to look at it from both resale and a new launch perspective, this looks like a deal for people who wants to be in a Tampines area, man. The price is very, very attractive. Conclusion, what is my hit price all day long? 2,000 to 2,100 per square foot. That's close both eyes. Kind of strike range. Will it launch at this range because developer got it at a lower price? Who knows? Only time will tell. But given my experience in getting an estimate before launch itself, I think it should be easily between 2,000 to maybe like 2,300 per square foot tops. Should you hit a low floor or a high floor if there's an opportunity? Honestly, I don't think you should pay for a premium for a high floor unless you really must, because the surrounding views are probably not that a big deal anyway. Lower floor, pool facing or inwards facing could be better too, as it will likely means lesser price on your end. Always remember, your target audience in the future is that of the HDB upgraders, and what are they always mindful about? That's right, entry level. Now if it starts to launch incredibly high for whatever reasons and goes above 2,300 per square foot, then that's a decision I feel is a move on developers' end to really milk the current euphoria or FOMO situation that we are currently facing. If that's the case, weigh the pros and cons of investment and buying a unit here for your own consumption. And with that, this is really likely my launch of the year 2025, starting so early in the year itself. Parktown seriously has all the attributes that I want my investors to always have. You want MRT, you got it. Usually MRT projects have great premiums. Not only that, this will likely be the lowest price launch for the year itself. Now, when you associate cheap, usually you associate cheap with inaccessibility, but not for Parktown. You have everything here, and the large plot is a standout for me in my honest opinion. And I got a hunch also that we will see quite a fair bit of Muslim buyers for this development too, as Tampines has always been a favorite preference. All in all, you are really getting something that is going to be in demand in time to come. The only thing left to decide if it's really good is to wait for the layouts and artist impressions to come out. That I will do a separate video again when we have gotten our hands on them, and all all we can do is to wait for the final price as usual on launch day itself only. But until then, you might want to prep yourself up for what I feel will be the most anticipated blockbuster launch of 2025. Because having the money alone can't decide your fate. Your balloting number and ability to buy a few of them will. And I fear the strong showing, which I think it will really force the government to react because it is still, after all, elections year.